One other thing that I want to ask, Delwin, and this is a very ad hoc question that is not listed in part of my 13 or so questions I've sent to you, is if there are kids right now watching and say, hey, me too, I'm interested in the personal development kind of career. How do I start?
I would say that, and again, you ask 10 people, you have 10 different answers.
Absolutely.
But my response to that question is if you are a kid, to use your word, or a fresh grad, my advice is to get a 9-to-5 job first. To just cut your teeth in the system, to learn the ropes of how companies big and small do things, how to deal with people. And then once you've had a taste of that life, and then you can revisit the question, or while you're in a job, then you can do a bit of a side hustle kind of a thing where you're experimenting or touching or testing the water. Because I think to start from zero as a student is, unless you've got deep pockets and unless mom and dad or whoever your guardians are can help pay your bills, it's a long road before you'll see any money coming in.
Let me ask another set of questions. What is the business model of a typical coach? And I know that this COVID-19 has been a huge disruption. And how do you see? So twofold to the question. Number one is, what is a typical business model? How does a coach make money? Number two is, the world has changed, and how has it changed your industry in that, what is a new business model in order for a coach to make it?
Yeah. So this is a big question. Let me try and break it down in my mind. Let's use the analogy of coaches from the point of view of the sports industry, right? So if you're an athlete, if you enjoy playing soccer, basketball, whatever the sport may be, yes, your raw talent, your hard work, your natural drive, you will get results. It's better than, like, doing something is better than doing nothing. So even if you don't have a coach, but you have that raw drive, that raw talent, that raw skill, you will get results, but up to a point, right? So if we look at all the top athletes of the world, if you look at the LeBron Jameses of the world, the Stephen Currys, the Michael Jordans, the Brock Lesnar's of the world, whoever your sporting idol is, they all have a coach. And I dare go as far to say, Shaun, that without a coach, they would not have reached nearly as far as they could have. And even the top gurus of the world, Shaun, the Tony Robbins of the world, they have a coach as well. So I think to answer, that's a bit of a broad question, but the idea there is that the role of a coach is to help someone, like their client, their customer, someone in the audience, to go from one height to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. Because some things, yes, it's not impossible to learn things on your own, but there is so much to say about getting help from someone who has been there and done that. So instead of taking 10 steps to get there, after a bit of a coaching call, it takes 3 steps, because you cut out the fluff and you go straight to the key things which need to be addressed. So how does a coach make money? They make money by helping other people. That's the essence of the answer. And you charge people for your time. Mm-hmm. So I think that the classic structure is, say, it varies, but the classic structure is like a monthly call. A 2-hour call every month for 6 months, right? So at the end of each call, the coach would be doing a lot of listening, and he or she would then say, look, before our next call, I want you to do this, and this. These are 5 key steps, which I'll ask you again in our next call. So in theory, if you tick off these 5 things, you'll move 1 step closer or 2 steps closer to your goal. So that's the general template, Shaun. You're exchanging your time for money, and you're helping to create a bit of a roadmap for people to want to move from point A to point B. And then obviously from there, you've got group coaching calls where instead of a one-to-one, there's more of a group setting where they call different things in different circles, but they might be called like a power circle, it might be called an accountability group, they might be called a life group. But the idea there is that 3, 4, 5 of you are on the same journey, so you keep each other accountable. Yeah, and then from there, the other models as well, where the online models, where again the coach would create a program, which is kind of what I'm trying to do right now. Create a program where the student can access the programs online and do their own online learning, and then reach out to the coach if need be for the more tricky questions. So there are a few models, Shaun.
The most successful coaches all are authors and have hundreds of thousands of people following them, be it through their blogs or their podcasts, or when they throw a seminar, that are raving fans, just like going to a concert. We'll talk about people like Tony Robbins and Gary Vaynerchuk, so on and so forth. How do we get there?
I don't know, Shaun. I'm nowhere near the level of the likes you've just mentioned, but I think it's a combination of things, right? I do believe it's a bit of the right time, the right place. That line of thinking has a part to play in it as well. For example, even moving from Adelaide to Melbourne, the market is different, even though we're in the same country. But the way the consumer behavior here is different. The demand for such things is different. Likewise, if you're in Brunei, and if you want to be a coach, yes, you can, and of course you can be a coach. You and I know a few successful coaches in Brunei, but in the size of the market has a big part to play as well, right? So I think, how do you become a Tony Robbins or a Gary Vaynerchuk? Right time, right place. You have to know your stuff. You have to take action, but you have to have a system, Shaun. And that's what that's gonna be my word of the day. To build a system, or if you've never thought about building a system, start to think about it, because that's how you start to scale what you do.
What would be a specific niche of Delwin Keasberry that, if we are searching for a certain kind of advice, you're the go-to person? What are big things that you're teaching right now?
Yeah. Right now, I just rewrote my mission statement 3 days ago, and I do this often, where one day I'll change one word, one day I'll change another word, one day I'll add this there. But the current mission statement, Shaun, is to help 100,000 small business owners find their voice online and offline. And even then, even as I said, I know I need to fine tune it more, but the outcome I'm trying to help people to reach is to use social media to tell their stories. And this can translate to selling things online. This can translate to being a better public speaker. This can translate to building a brand for yourself and for your business. And then the other part of that is to public speaking skills. I've had the privilege to be exposed to a lot of public speaking myself, and watching others as well. So I've built up a bank of experiences and knowledge that I want to pass on and help others.
Which public speaker do you follow that inspire you? That you always
I tell this story often, that I don't follow him anymore, but this is going back to 2014 or 15. I was in TEDx in Kuala Lumpur. One of the speaker, his name is Zung. He's a photographer, and you know, he was his initial present. My first impression was, all right, this guy is very polished. He's standing there very poised. He's got his slide deck ready. He's looking very, professional. But when he started to speak, it was broken English. He then began to tell his story about how I grew up in a poor family. English is not my first language, and all throughout his 10 minutes, it was broken English. But by the end of his talk, I was in tears, Shaun, because there's a saying in public speaking that authenticity trumps all else. If you are authentic in your delivery, that all of your imperfections, your stutters, your ums and ahs, they kind of fade away in the background, because people in the audience, they connect with you on an emotional level, on a, I dare say, a spiritual level, and that doesn't come without authenticity. So that's what I strive to still to do for myself whenever I speak, to have a level of authenticity. But I think the key there, Shaun, is you can't just willy-nilly just speak from the heart all the time, because you need to be aware that there are structures, there are formats, there are templates and frameworks that you can frame your craft around. But once you kind of mastered that, or had enough practice in those things, don't memorize the script, but rather know your script, but speak with authenticity. So in terms of the people that I currently follow, we've already mentioned him, Gary Vaynerchuk. He is a no BS, he doesn't pull any punches. He's swearing like a sailor. But, I think why so many are drawn to him is because he's so down to earth and authentic. He'll just tell it like it is. He doesn't pull any punches.
Anyone else?
He's not the most eloquent speaker. He's not the most polished. I'm trying to think of one who is super polished. Like last year, I saw Professor Julia Gillard live in a public delivery address where she spoke about leadership and women in leadership, and she was so poised and articulate and so finessed in her delivery. And so there are people out there who are really polished in the way they speak. But if you compare her style to a Gary Vaynerchuk, it's very different. Because Gary's style is like, he breaks all the rules of conventional professional speaking as we know it, but rather he goes straight to the essence of solving problems for the audience.